Panelists, come on up. We crave your intelligent things you're going to say to us today. Come and educate us. We need to learn. We're hungry over here. I have microphones. We have an audience. We have a camera ready to capture. Come tell us about the future. Why don't you pop the slide on for everybody? The future of Bitcoin NFTs and Ordinals, one of the most exciting things happening in the digital asset space. Here's a microphone. Welcome. Very glad to have you. Here is a microphone.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us. We are very excited to be talking about the future of Bitcoin NFTs. My name is Rena Shah. I will be your moderator today. I run operations and strategy here at Trust Machines. We are a company building products on Bitcoin, trying to revolutionize the Bitcoin economy from the ground up. I will now introduce all of our fellow panelists. Elizabeth.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Olson. I'm head of growth at Xfirst Wallet, where we're building the most advanced and user-friendly Bitcoin wallet experience. We're non-custodial, and we're looking to unlock many functionalities. For example, you can connect to dApps. There's Web3 scalability solutions like Stacks. We're going to be integrating with Lightning Network soon. Bitcoin NFTs, of course, Ordinals, which we'll be talking soon about. And yeah, so you can think of us like the Bitcoin Web3 ecosystem in one place, like a Bitcoin super wallet, so to speak.
Yeah. Hey, my name is Gideon. I'm the CEO and founder of Diba, where we're building infrastructure for Deep Web3, what we call Deep Web3. It's essentially Web3 on Bitcoin. But first of all, I really want to say, I want to give a shout out to Casey, the guy who invented Ordinals, for bringing the conversation back to Bitcoin, and to Amanda Terry, whose company MetaGoods did the first collectibles actually on Ordinals, and also doing the Asbury Bugatti egg collection. So it's like, you know, great things are coming to Bitcoin, and it's very, very exciting.
And I'm Jamil, the founder of Gamma.io, which is an NFT marketplace and creator tools on Bitcoin. So right now we operate on both layer 2, like we're the largest NFT marketplace on Stacks, as well as offering both creator tools and a marketplace directly on Bitcoin through Ordinals.
Hello everyone, I'm Anastasiia Ilicheva, and I'm working with Gideon on Diba and Bitmask. And as he mentioned before, we are building infrastructure on Bitcoin with the RGB smart contracts. Thank you.
Amazing, thank y'all. What I wanted to kick us off with is that there has been so much happening on Bitcoin since February till now regarding Ordinals and NFTs. For those of you who don't know, the first NFT was actually issued on Bitcoin. It's a rare Pepe. It was 2016 for Counterparty. We are now kind of going into this renaissance of Bitcoin NFTs becoming a thing and Ordinals being something that people are valuing as a community aspect. I'd love to get a take on what is Ordinals from a high level. Maybe Jamil?
Yeah, so as Rena mentioned, Bitcoin is actually where NFTs actually originated. Not many people realize this. We associate it with Solana, with Ethereum, with all of these other chains. But digital assets really started on Bitcoin, non-fungible assets. And people trust Bitcoin as a store of value for their money, for their fungible assets. You see institutions like Goldman Sachs, like traditional banks. You see many companies trust Bitcoin as a store of value for their fungible assets. And so it's a no-brainer that people will start to look at Bitcoin as a store of value for their non-fungible assets as well. And the question is how to make that happen. So in the past, there have been different solutions, like Counterparty, as Rena mentioned. There's RGB, which Diba builds on, and Stacks, like how Gamma got its start. But what really was the breakthrough over the past few months is doing this directly on the Bitcoin chain with Ordinals. And the way it works is it's actually quite simple. You basically assign a number to each individual unit of Bitcoin, each Satoshi, basically. And so ordinal theory and Ordinals basically gives a numbering system to each sat. And that basically converts Bitcoin into something that you can think of as fungible to something that you can think of as non-fungible. So one BTC is not the same, actually, as another BTC that you have in your wallet. The way that you can sort of think about this is almost like if you go to a coffee shop and you buy coffee. If I use my debit card and pay $5, I don't really care if that comes out of the top of my bank balance or the bottom of my bank balance. That question doesn't really make sense. But if I pay with cash, I actually have to select a bill that I use to pay for that coffee. And so ordinal theory basically applies that same principle to Bitcoin, that your Bitcoin is not quite interchangeable, that it can be treated as unique. The second part is inscriptions, which is actually putting that data directly onto the Bitcoin chain and not only associating each individual sat with a number, but with an image or text or audio or any of this other information as well. So when you combine ordinal theory, that numbering of the sats, with putting data directly on Bitcoin, you get this current functionality of ordinals and inscriptions. And that's what we've sort of leaned into as well. So like on Gamma, you can drag and drop an image, pay some Bitcoin, and immediately inscribe some data onto Bitcoin that you can then sell, trade, or just keep as a memento.
There's a lot of talk about ordinals not being able to scale. The mempool gets congested. And Gideon, I'm curious how you think about scaling ordinals.
Yeah, so we've been working on very interesting stuff. I mean, there are two things I will talk about, right? One is really about the RGB smart contracts. So you really want to imagine having smart contracts directly on Bitcoin. And what does that mean? This simply means that you can actually have tens of millions of smart contracts committed to the Bitcoin blockchain every 10 minutes. And this is a game changer. It's very scalable, it's very cheap. And then there is also another product which is called Carbonado. So Carbonado, essentially, it's more like, if you imagine Arweave, but on Bitcoin, right? And so if we can have Arweave on Bitcoin, now something like Arweave on Bitcoin, that means we can actually end up having more storages stored on Carbonado. And at the same time, you can also inscribe on ordinals, and that can scale ordinals like infinitely, right? And you can have like more assets on ordinals. And so essentially, like with DIBA, we end up like building the tools that that's going to really unleash the industry that we need for Bitcoin. And most of these things are open source, and it's very exciting to see when this is being launched, especially with in partnership with one of the biggest mining companies in the world. And it's something that we're looking forward to do.
I feel like a lot of times Bitcoin is hard to interact with and the tooling is not quite user-friendly. I think people in the past have used hardware wallets or Exodus wallets that are a little bit old school, and I'm wondering, how are we going to make Bitcoin NFTs scalable for easy user adoption, and what would it take for onboarding 1 billion people into Bitcoin NFTs from like a UI perspective? Maybe Elizabeth?
Sure, thanks, Rena. Yeah, that's exactly what we're seeking to do at Xverse. As the #1 Bitcoin wallet, we're looking to create something that's a very smooth onboarding experience, something as smooth as what you would find with wallets on other blockchains, for example, MetaMask. That wasn't really available on Bitcoin earlier. Before, people had to use wallets that were more optimized for engineers. So this is a really big breakthrough moment where we're able to create an experience where people can easily sign transactions with dApps, with decentralized applications. And we could take ordinals, for example. Before Xverse was essentially the first wallet to really support ordinals, what we were dealing with was people having to use nodes to do inscriptions. The process could take potentially hours. And even then, once you have your inscription, you would just be viewing it as a UTXO, so you wouldn't see your actual visual picture or inscribed word, for example. So now with Xverse, you can actually view it in a beautiful gallery. It's also available on iOS and Android, so we have this available on mobile devices, and it's a very, very easy user experience. Yeah.
We've chatted quite a bit about Bitcoin as a whole, but we haven't really talked about the future of NFTs and where we're going. Anna, would you be able to share where you think NFTs are going for Bitcoin and what innovations it will unlock?
Yeah, sure, happy to do so. I think as Jamil mentioned before that the NFTs initially started on Bitcoin, but why the community moved away from them, it's a couple of reasons, because the community couldn't agree on what the pathway is going to be, and also it was really complicated. Bitcoin wasn't scalable enough. I think after all these amazing people were speaking, we are understanding NFTs coming back to Bitcoin, and there are technologies now which allow to scale it. And we can also see with the popularity of Ordinals that community want to see NFTs on Bitcoin. So the next pathways for us and the next steps is to make it user-friendly, and also to find the best ways how the community can interact and all creators could be included. We have different perspectives and different ways how we're seeing this implementation. That's why we have different solutions. From our perspective, like in Diba and Bitmask, we prefer a platform to be like tokenless, so the creators can stay fully on sats. Ordinals is amazing invention, and what's happening in space now is also great. But we also like dealing with another issue, I would say, it's the data which could be inscribed, because there's like capacity, there are limits. So this shows that the creators who are working on music or video files or like with the rendering, they couldn't join the movement yet just because their artworks weight more than the blockchain can afford to do it. And as Gideon mentioned, that's what we're also building, like with the RGB Carbonado, to allow the creators whose artworks weight much more than could be allowed by ordinals or stamps to also join the movement, to also issue their NFTs, mint them on the Bitcoin blockchain. And one of the things what we are doing to boost the adoption, we have zero minting fees. So creators can try it for themselves and understand how it's going to feel for them. Is Bitcoin the right blockchain for them? I believe all of us think that Bitcoin is a perfect blockchain, but we're still allowing everyone to have their own opinions. And that's why I think one of our focuses now is just to bring more music creators to the industry. And it's the way we're building like our wallet to be as a multiplayer and support music, and like music, we calling them UDAs. Sorry, that's why I'm getting a bit like tricked when I'm talking, because I'm not using usually NFTs so much. So yeah, I believe with all the technologies we are building, even with the different approaches and with the different solutions which we have at the moment, like layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, I believe within the year, it's going to be such a great impact. I hope I answered your question, Rena.
I appreciate that. And Jamil, I know you guys do quite a bit to support the creator economy.
Yeah, I'll tell an interesting sort of story about that. When we first launched our inscription service, so basically allowing people to inscribe their images on Bitcoin, we saw like a very different behavior than we saw on platforms like Ethereum and on Solana. As soon as we launched it, we were looking at what people were inscribing. What were people actually creating, when they were creating ordinals, when they were creating Bitcoin NFTs? And it was surprising. From day one of our first users, he had a bug. It was like, my file is too big. He was inscribing books that he read as a kid that he wanted to make sure lived on forever, right? That his memories, that his artifacts lived on forever. People were inscribing family photos of like their loved ones that passed away, poems that they were writing or that their loved ones were writing. And I think this just shows it's something unique. It's not just the same as any other NFT. You're putting this on the most secure, longest lasting, most decentralized blockchain to live forever. And of course, yeah, and Amanda over there, doing the same thing with projects like On-Chain Monkey coming to Ethereum, inscribing their data on Bitcoin to live forever. And brands like Bugatti doing the same thing, realizing the value and the power of the Bitcoin blockchain. And so that's what we're focused on at Gamma, is just providing people the tools to continue doing this, to make Bitcoin more accessible to people, to give that power of decentralization, the promise that Bitcoin basically offered us since 2008.
It feels like we're going through our Bitcoin renaissance right now. A lot of people are saying that we're making Bitcoin productive. I think all of us probably agree that we're making Bitcoin fun again. There's Taproot wizards who are kind of calling out that we're making Bitcoin magical, and it's really changing the narrative shift for how we view Bitcoin and how we view building on the Bitcoin blockchain. I'm curious if anyone has takes on where we culturally have shifted with Bitcoin.
Sure, I can take that one. So ordinals are showing that we can do more than just hold Bitcoin. And so it's shifting the narrative, bringing a new wave of builders back to the ecosystem, and also lending integrity to those who are already there building. We experienced this firsthand when Xverse, the market-leading Bitcoin wallet, grew exponentially these past months thanks to Ordinals, and actually became the #1 startup at Paris Blockchain Week's competition last month out of 700 startups. So this is a really, really exciting time for everyone in the ecosystem. It's not just a win for Xverse, but for everyone building on Bitcoin. We're seeing some of the biggest NFT brands, Magic Eden, Yuga Labs, DGods, and now new emerging artists, Taproot Wizards, come to Bitcoin for Ordinals using Xverse as the wallet gateway. As Jamil mentioned, we're even seeing luxury brands like Bugatti leverage digital Ordinals, these digital NFT twins, which are now positioned to become the first blue chip NFTs on Bitcoin. So it's a really exciting renaissance moment for the ecosystem. And thanks to Ordinals, people are excited again by the infrastructure being built, as they should be. We're here to build on what is the strongest and most secure settlement layer.
From maybe the DIBA team, I'm curious on, we have a lot of challenges ahead with NFTs, just given scalability and things like that. What are you guys seeing from your perspective?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that, you know, as Bitcoin is like, it's called the layered systems, right? And so we have the layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4. And so it's like what we have with RGB smart contracts, they are client side. So literally we end up having actually smart contracts now directly on Bitcoin against, because like Ordinals is great. Ordinals, however, Ordinals are artifacts, right? You cannot program them. You cannot do DeFi or something like that with Ordinals. With RGB smart contracts, now you can actually like execute smart contracts directly on Bitcoin's layer 1. And then imagine if you put that on layer 2 on Lightning. It's going to be a whole game changer. You can do lending and borrowing with your assets. You can combine them because everything is attached to a Bitcoin UTXO. So essentially, well, I think the future is really going to be one Bitcoin blockchain, and we're going to have multiple protocols on Bitcoin. And then you're able to do like multiple assets across, move assets across. And so what we're really going to see moving down the line is having this extreme utility that we've never seen from any other blockchain. Best on Bitcoin, it's secured, it's real money, it's hard money, it lives forever, and it's really affordable, right? Because for you to mint an RGB smart contract, you pay $0. Why is that? You are binding a piece, you're binding the smart contract, which is a DAG, to already existing piece of Bitcoin, which is a Bitcoin UTXO. Now, one Bitcoin UTXO, it's like maybe less than, I don't know what it was the price now, maybe less than 1 cent. Right? And so to do that, you're sending a cryptographic transaction. And what we did with DIBA and our product is how do we make this process so seamless so that you don't have to think? And then how do we make it open source so that everybody can also build with it? And it's really, really exciting. I think the next years, I have this whole theory that everything we see in other blockchains is really going to move towards Bitcoin. Because when you look around, in a world where there are so much lies, only Bitcoin is the truth. Bitcoin is like the sun. It goes up, it comes down when it should be, and so yeah, that's the way it is.
Anna, any other perspectives more from like the sales and marketing perspective? I know you spend a lot of time with Bitcoin on this side.
To be honest, I think Gideon mentioned all the points, and in terms of marketing perspective, I would say the main thing for me and for adoption is just to show the artists that they, before, if they wanted to mint on Bitcoin, they really needed to be tech savvy. They needed this. So now, like, the way we building products, like they're user friendly. They're probably different from what they were experiencing before, especially if they were using, for example, products built on Ethereum. But the main thing is just to show the why Bitcoin? Why we're all choosing Bitcoin? Like, explain this, explain the longevity of the blockchain and how secure it is and what's like in the long-term run, how the artwork's going to be safe and how it's going to be looking for them. And basically, yeah, I think the main things that Gideon mentioned and what I was saying before, that it's like kind of no limits on the file size, it's user-friendly, it's zero minting fees, and I think, honestly, in the long-term run, and I think Ordinals proved it already this year with the once it launched in February, everyone's speaking about ordinals. Come on. I think everything gonna move to Bitcoin. So yeah, Jamil.
Yeah, like I think the whether it's DIBA, whether it's ordinals, I think it's a great time to get into Bitcoin NFTs. You can in Gamma.io, takes 30 seconds, drag and drop an image, get it inscribed, play with ordinals. There's no better way to get involved than just to try it and start getting involved in the ecosystem.
I think we're about to get booted, so I'll give you all maybe 10 seconds to share any final comments, maybe starting from Anna and moving over.
Thanks everyone for joining us today, and I hope you're gonna check out Bitcoin for any of your digital assets in the future.
Yeah, get inscribing. Start creating inscriptions, playing around with Bitcoin. Download Xverse, try Gamma, try DIBA. I think we've got an amazing ecosystem of applications that are just ready to explore.
Get more Bitcoin. That's all I'm gonna say. Get more Bitcoin. Yeah.
So for Xverse, definitely check out our wallet. If you have a phone, it's available to download on Android and iOS. You can start connecting to these marketplaces like Gamma today and inscribe an ordinal. It's as easy as buying a T-shirt, so it might be a little bit more expensive these days, but definitely check it out. And if you're a builder, we are actively working on Sats Connect Bitcoin API. Would love to talk to you about potential integration. So yeah, definitely connect with us.
Bitcoin is meant to be built on. That is the entire premise of Trust Machines. Bitcoin is meant to be magical, so come build with us.
That's great. Let's give them a hand, everybody. You can sit on the chair. That was wonderful.